My stepdaughter called me dad at her graduation. Her biological father sued me for parental alienation. He orchestrated the whole thing. Mia's voice rang clear across the auditorium when she accepted her diploma, thanking her parents for their support, especially her dad, who never gave up on her. She pointed directly at me in the audience. My wife Angela squeezed my hand, tears streaming down her face. But 3 rows behind us, I heard Thomas make a sound like he'd been punched. Mia's biological father stood up abruptly, his face twisted with rage, and walked out of the graduation ceremony while people turned to stare. Angela whispered that we should have expected this, but I'd thought Thomas would at least make it through his daughter's graduation without causing a scene. What none of us knew was that Thomas had been recording the entire ceremony on his phone, and that single moment of Mia calling me dad would become the centerpiece of a lawsuit that would nearly destroy our family. I'm David, and 3 years earlier, I'd married Angela, a divorced mother with the most complicated custody situation I'd ever seen. Mia was 13 when I entered their lives, a quiet kid who spent most of her time drawing in notebooks and avoiding eye contact with adults she didn't know well. Angela's divorce from Thomas had been brutal and drawn out over 2 years of fighting about everything from furniture to photo albums. They'd agreed to joint custody with Mia, spending alternating weeks at each house, but the animosity between them made every exchange tense and uncomfortable. Thomas was a corporate lawyer who specialized in contract disputes, which meant he knew exactly how to weaponize legal language to make Angela's life difficult. He'd send emails at midnight demanding clarification on custody schedule details, threaten legal action over minor disagreements about Mia's activities, and generally treat co-parenting like a negotiation where he held all the leverage. Angela worked as a dental hygienist and didn't have the resources to match his legal maneuvering, so she'd learned to pick her battles and document everything obsessively. Thomas had a new girlfriend named Patricia, who seemed nice enough during the few interactions we had at school events, but Angela said Patricia asked intrusive questions about our household whenever she saw Mia. What extracurricular activities was Mia doing at our house? What time did we put her to bed? Did she seem happy or stressed? The questions felt like intelligence gathering rather than genuine interest in Mia's well-being. My approach to becoming Mia's stepfather was cautious and deliberate because I'd heard too many horror stories about step-parents who tried too hard or not enough. I let Mia set the pace for our relationship, never pushed her to call me anything other than David, and focused on being a consistent, reliable adult presence in her life. At first, she was wary of me the way kids are with new adults in their parents' lives, testing boundaries and watching to see if I'd disappear like other people had. But over months, she started opening up during our drives to her art classes or while we cooked dinner together. She'd talk about school drama, friend conflicts, worries about whether she was good enough at drawing to pursue it seriously. I became someone she could talk to without the complicated history that existed between her and her parents. Angela was thrilled that Mia felt comfortable with me, especially because Thomas had been telling Mia that her mother's new boyfriend wouldn't stick around long. But our growing bond created an unexpected problem. Thomas started making comments during custody exchanges about how Mia talked about me constantly, suggesting it was inappropriate how much time we spent together, questioning whether I was trying to replace him as her father. The first warning sign I should have paid more attention to came 6 months into my relationship with Angela. Thomas showed up 15 minutes early for a custody pickup and walked into our house without knocking, something the custody agreement explicitly forbade. He found Mia and me in the kitchen making pancakes while Angela was still getting ready upstairs. Thomas stood in the doorway watching us for a full minute before Mia noticed him. She jumped, startled by his presence, and Thomas commented that it looked like they were having quite the domestic scene without him. He took several photos on his phone before Angela came downstairs and told him he needed to wait outside during pickups like their agreement specified. Thomas apologized, claiming he'd knocked but no one heard, and left with Mia. Later that evening, Angela got an email from Thomas's lawyer requesting clarification about my role in Mia's life and whether I'd undergone any background checks before being allowed unsupervised access to a minor. The implication was clear. Thomas was building a file about me, documenting my presence in Mia's life as if it were something suspicious or dangerous, and that's when things took a turn I never expected. Full story is linked below or on my channel.